Hello students, welcome back. So in this session, I'm going to be talking about user-defined functions. So functions, they make your code modular. They make your code easier to read, and you can use the same logic in multiple places without rewriting your code. Another example, another use of a function would be you can break a bigger problem into smaller and manageable steps. All right, let's start with some examples. So let's start with few types of functions. So this is an example of a basic function. It has no parameter, it has no return value. This is called greet. All it does is it prints hello, welcome to the Python class. You are going to enjoy this. That's all it does. Now, this right here is called a doc string. Okay, this is where you can write your documentation. You can type whatever you want inside this triple quotes, and this will be your documentation. That's all it is. It's a good practice to write what your function does inside your doc space. This is an optional. You don't have to. Your function is going to work just fine, but it's a good practice to do that. Okay, so let's run this, and it does nothing. All it does is define a function. I use this def keyword to define a function. Greet is my name of my function, and I use crescent bracket, and I close the bracket right here. And inside I'm specifying nothing, so that's my parameter. Parameter is what goes inside this bracket. Right now there's nothing inside the bracket, so this has no parameter. All right, now let's put some values inside. And let me just come remove this, and there you go. All right, so let's define this function, and I define the function, and then I call the greet function, and it prints hello, welcome to the Python class. You're going to enjoy this. All right, good. Now let's call this function few times, and each time when I'm calling the function, I'm actually using this hashtag. Another time I'm using stars, just to show you how these functions are called, and separate each function called from a different one, from the other one. Greet calls this function right here. I print my octothorpe right there, prints my octothorpe. Then I call my greet again. Okay, I call my greet again, and it prints my greet message. Then I print my star, it prints my star, and then I call my greet twice, and so it prints out my greet message twice, as you can see this over here. So this is your basic function. It actually has no parameter and no return values. All right, now let's work with a function that has parameter and it returns a value. So this is a function with parameters and has no return values. So this function actually greets a person by name, and it uses f string. So in this case, my parameter is name, and the name of my function is greet person. I'm using def as to define my function. It prints hello, but it uses f string to print hello name, which is the name of whoever you are typing. So let me just remove this, and let me run this by the way first. All right, so it's going to print name, whoever name is, it's going to come over here. Welcome to the Python class. Today you will learn Python. And then I call this function by calling greet person Rahim. So my name becomes Rahim. And when I run this, it prints hello Rahim. You see the name variable, it takes the value Rahim and it prints this message. All right, now I can call the same function multiple times. I'm calling this greet person with Tanwar, greet person Zina. Run this, and it prints hello Rahim, you will learn Python, which is this right there. Then it calls this greet person again with the parameter Tanwar, and it prints hello Tanwar, you will learn Python. And then it calls the same function Zina with the name parameter Zina, and it's going to say hello Zina, welcome to the Python class. So whatever value you're passing, Tanwar, Zina, or Rahim, those values gets inside the name, and this name gets printed like this. Now let's talk about a function with parameters and return value. So let me create a few cells. Come over here. All right, so this is a function. It basically adds two numbers, a comma b. It returns the sum of two numbers. So it takes a and it adds plus b, and it returns my answer. So this is my function. That's all it does. It takes a and b and adds them, and it returns my answer. So I specify my n1, n1 equal to 5, and my n2 equal to 3. Result equal to add n1 comma n2. and then I print my sum. The sum is result. And I run this and it prints out my sum. So what's happening over here, my n1 is 5, my n2 is 3. My add function, okay, it takes add as 5 comma 3. It comes over here, my answer becomes 5 plus 3 and it returns an answer. Okay, so you see the returning is an answer. It returns 8, and when it returns the 8, I capture that 8 inside my value, inside my variables result. I capture that value inside my variable result, and then I print my result. The sum is result. So this is what's happening. I can do the same thing. This time, I'm actually asking the user to supply me the input. So this is same as this top function. This function is exactly same as this, except that I'm actually asking the user to give me n1 and n2. I'm actually making this program a little bit more interactive. So it's asking the user, enter your first number. The user enters, let's say 5, enter your second number. The user, let's say, enter 3, and there you go. It prints the sum is 8. So here I was actually using my n1 and n2 equal to 5 and 3. I was manually typing my value. Over here, I'm letting the user enter n1 and n2. Users enters the number, I convert into integer. Int is my function that converts a number into integer. And then same thing with my n2, and then I add n1 comma n2, and it prints out my result. Let's take a look at this example. This is a function. It's a function that takes 2 input parameters and returns minimum of 2 numbers. So it takes a number 1 and num2, and depending on which one is smaller, it's going to return that. So let's say I define my n1 equal to 15 and my n2 equal to 7. And then I call my function get minimum. Now it's returning. You see there's a return value over here. So it's returning something. And what it's returning is a minimum value. So let's see how it works. Get minimum n1 comma n2. So my n1 is 15 and n2 is 7. It comes over here. My num1 becomes 15. My num2 becomes 7, sorry. So this becomes 15. This becomes 7. If this condition is satisfied, if my number 1 is smaller than num2, it's going to return num1 because that's a small one, right? We are trying to find the minimum. Otherwise, else, it's going to return num2. That's what's happening over here. So if I run this, it prints the minimum of 15 and 7 is 7. A function that takes 3 parameters and returns a simple interest. So this is a function that takes 3 parameters and returns simple interest. So let's say I define a function called calculate simple interest. And the way you calculate simple interest, you take your principal, multiply by rate and multiply by time, and that gives you simple interest. So you have 3 parameters, principal, rate, and time, and you multiply all 3 of them together, and then you return the value. Okay, simple interest. So let's call this function. Specifying my p equal to 1000, r equal to 0.05, and t equal to 2, and interest equal to calculate simple interest p r t. Print my interest, and if I run this, it prints my interest 100. All right, let's print this same thing using some meaningful message. Okay, I want my output to be a little bit more helpful so the user can understand. So it says I'm using my f string, and I'm saying the simple interest on p at a rate of r times 100 for time t years is this right here. So I'm using f string to print out the values, and it prints out my string like this. Function with default parameters. All right. So in this case, I have a function add. Now, if the user does not supply the value of a or b, we want to give this function a default value. That's what I'm doing over here. So if the user does not give a and b, then the default value for a is going to be 0, and the default value of b is going to be 0. And then it's going to print answer equal to a plus b, return answer. All right. Okay. Result equal to add. So let's call this function, and it prints 0. And the reason it's printing 0 because my default value a equal to 0 and b equal to 0 is being used. I did not specify my a and b over here. Okay, that's why it printed 0. Now let's specify my a now. In this case, I'm saying add 3. So in this case, my a equal to 3 and my b, I'm not specifying. So since I'm not specifying my b, my default value of b is 0. If I run this, it's going to print 3. All right, because 3 plus 0, a is 3 and b is 0. So 3 plus 0 is 3 and returns 3. Gets my 3 as an answer. All right, add 3 comma 4. In this case, my a is 3 and my b is 4. And my default value is getting overridden. Okay, my a is now 3 and my b is 4. It's no longer 0 or 0 over here. So if I run this, it's going to print 7 because it's overwriting my default values. Let's look at another example, power. So this one is calculating a power. So base and exponent. In this case, I'm saying my exponent. If the user does not give me the exponent, my default value for exponent is 2. So answer is going to be base to the power exponent and return my answer. So let's call this function. All right. So I'm calling it power 3. And I'm not specifying 2 parameters. I'm only specifying 1 parameter. So my other parameter exponent would be by default taking the value 2. If I run this, it's going to print 3 to the power of 2 is 9. It is using my default parameter as 2 right here. And if I come over here, and if I run the same function, power 3 comma 4 is going to say the 3 to the power of 4 is 81. So what's happening over here is calculating like this: 3 to the power 2 equal to 9, 3 to the power 4 equal to 81. This is my default. This right here, exponent equal to, is my default. All right. Now a function with multiple return values. In this case, this one is going to take 2 parameters, length and width, and it's going to return. It's going to calculate the area first. Area is equal to length times width. It's going to calculate the parameter. Parameter is 2 times length plus width. This is how you calculate your rectangular property. If you remember from your high school, let's say you have a rectangle, right? So if this is your length, this is your width, your area equal to length times width, and your parameter, okay, parameter was equal to 2 multiplied by length plus width. Okay, it was 2 multiplied by length plus width. So calculating my parameter 2 times length plus width, and my if area, now I'm saying that if my area is less than 100, if this area is less than 100, then the price is going to be 2000 multiplied by area. Otherwise, the price of this rectangular land would be 3000 times area. So think of this as a rectangular land. Okay, somebody is trying to buy a rectangular land, and this is going to return my area. It's going to return my parameter of the rectangular area, and also the price of the land. If I run this, it's going to print this result right here. Let me comment this line out so you can see what's happening behind the scene. Okay, and it returns my area, parameter, price. Now it's returning a tuple. The reason is I say it's a tuple because there's a comma over here. Okay, so this something comma something comma something, generally that's referred to as a tuple. Python will treat this as a tuple. So if my area is less than 100, if this area comes out to be less than 100, then the price of the rectangular land would be 2000 times the area. Otherwise, the price is going to be 3000 times area. And I print my result. And you can see in my result, my first value is area, which is 50. My second value, parameter, is 30. And the third value, which is index 2. This is index 0, index 1, index 2, and index 2 is 100,000. And I want to now capture each one of these values. I want to get access to each one of the values. I want to read each one of the values. So I can read them using like this: result index 0, result index 1, result index 2, and then I print my each individual values right here. It prints my area is 50, parameter is 30, and my price is 100,000. Okay, you can actually do the same thing now. You can actually, if I were you, play around, change this 5 to maybe 53. Okay, and then see your price will change. Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.